There's an issue about the Chinese products which are available in the market. I've used some of them and found them to be useful, not the hyaluronic acid one, but the polyacrylamide gel seems to work better. This is the patient before, this is immediately after, this is how she looks after 1 month, this is at 1 year. So if you compare the pictures, even at 1 year the results are fairly decent. This is the polyacrylamide gel, not the hyaluronic acid. Another patient before and after, this is after 5 years. This patient would have been a good option for probably fat augmentation, but he insisted on some sort of a non-surgical option, so we've gone in for a permanent filler here. Another patient before and after, this is at 2 years. At 3 years, he still has that effect. This is again the Chinese polyacrylamide. Again, as I mentioned, you've got to be very cautious when you're dealing with permanent fillers. Patient selection is very important. Ideal augmentations when you're doing a nasolabial fold. Mild to moderate nasolabial folds can be dealt with fillers. If you have prominent cheeks overlying the nasolabial fold, a facelift is a good choice. Early changes, you might even require botulinum toxin A. This is a patient before and after. After 6 months, if you look at the fold is still kind of prominent, it's overhanging. Probably some other modality should have been used here. An elderly patient, a 70-year-old patient, this is before, this is how she looks after, immediately after, and this is after 14 days. Hardly any change if you compare the two pictures. Beyond 60 or 65, you don't need to do all these fillers or botulinum toxin for that matter. You should probably put them on a surgical regime. Now this is a particular patient who, according to the photograph, looks very good. When she came into the clinic, after 2 weeks, she was shouting at me. She told me, "Doctor, what have you done? You've destroyed my face." And the people actually commenting on this. Now if you look at the picture before and after, you can appreciate there is a bit of change there, or maybe a decent change for that matter. I called this patient's husband inside. I showed him the photograph. I said, "Listen, this is the before and after." He says, "Doctor, the results look good, very good in fact." I said, "Then why is the wife shouting?" He says, "Doctor, she's actually a patient of MDP." So there's the problem. So you've got to align your patients around. You've got to select your patients carefully, make sure that they have a good mental understanding. I wish I had an iron in this particular case so that I can iron out whatever was left over, but you've got to be careful. Look before you leave when you're doing fillers, because fillers is a work of art. It is not like botulinum toxin A, wherein you inject and you get results. Fillers definitely is a work of art. Thank you. So what you do is you normally take the nasolabial. If you're looking at the crease, yes, you can do the Mentalis.
About the technique and the process of treatment, a number of things have to be known, but with the shortage of time, we have
to at least dermatologists and also to plastic surgeons. She is a consultant dermatologist at Manipal Hospital in Bangalore, and will be talking on how to manage complications of fillers.
In all our cosmetic dermatology practices, and they're really effective because of their effectiveness and versatility. However, as Dr. Amit has already discussed, many of the adverse events, both in experienced and inexperienced hands. So it's really for the treated patients. I'm not going into too much to say that we can group the adverse events into expected procedure-related events, such as bruising, erythema, and tenderness. Events potentially related to improper technique, such as nodule formation. And finally, reactions to the product itself, such as granulomas. So, fillers, as we know, temporary, semi-permanent, permanent. I do not work with anything other than the temporary fillers. I think there's a lot of controversy on this. Many people in the audience use semi-permanent, permanent. Personally, I'm more comfortable with the temporary fillers. Of course, history of scarring and keloids. Autoimmune disease is something to watch for, multiple allergies. And as Dr. Amit said, this patient, body dysmorphic disorder, I find this increasingly common, and patients coming in asking for all sorts of treatment. You need to be careful. It's a big problem. As we showed you some of the complications, I'd like to highlight here that blindness has been reported, and not on one occasion, several occasions. So be very, very cautious in this area. For the lip, permanent fillers are something that once you put in, you cannot take out. Everybody changes, they lose weight, their facial structure changes, and I think you need to understand that aging is a dynamic process. So you need to be flexible with your products. Nose and chin, of course, vascular compromise. The forehead and glabella, vascular occlusion and tissue necrosis. This is a dreaded complication. Most of my colleagues or our colleagues in the West are actually veering away from the glabella film as of today. Whenever you attend any international herpes, of course, treated appropriately. Bruising, your best method of management is counseling. Any need to panic except reassurance. And I strongly advise you to counsel your patient. Every patient you are doing a film, tell them bruising is very, very likely. You just safeguard yourself, the patient expects it, everybody's comfortable. If you don't get a bruise, fine. But otherwise tell them you will have a bruise,